Welcome to this episode of You're Dead on My Next Turn. Please make sure if you like this video, please hit the like button and the subscription button so we can continue to make great content for all our viewers. It's Tim coming at you with this first deck tech on our channel, discussing one of my favorite commanders in a long time. Coming out of the new set, Modern Horizon 2, it's Chatterfang, Squirrel General. Now I've been waiting a long time for a Squirrel Tribal, and it's finally here, folks. Now, I built this deck on a budget, but you can always upgrade later like I do. So let's begin with the commander, Chatterfang Squirrel General. It's a 2 colorless, 1 green creature with Forest Walk. So this creature can't be blocked as long as one of your defending players control a forest. Now, most of the time, everyone has a forest because it's the most played color in Magic. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 creature tokens are created instead. So a lot of token creatures are going to be in this deck. And I also like the second ability, which is a black. You sacrifice X amount of squirrels, and target creature you control gets a plus X, minus X until end of turn. So if your opponent has a big creature out there, and you sack 7 creatures, you can kill his 7/7. Now we're going to move on to the Planeswalker I created to add to this deck. It's a Garruk Primal Hunter. It's 2 colorless and 3 forests. Its +1 ability is create a 3/3 green beast creature. So as soon as you +1, you're going to get a 3/3 beast and a 1/1 squirrel. Its -3 is draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. And its -6 is to create a 6/6 green worm creature token for each land you control. So if you have 7 lands, you're making 7 6/6 green worms on top of 7 1/1 squirrels with your commander on the battlefield. Now we're going to move to the creature part. So the creatures we always have the Great Avenger of Zendikar. It's a 5 colorless, 2 green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you're going to create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. So just like Garruk Primal Hunter, if you have 7 lands, you're making 7 0/1 green plants on top of 7 1/1 squirrels. The next creature is Beast Whisperer. It's a 2 colorless, 2 green elf druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you're going to draw a card. So it's just going to get you card draw every time you play a creature. The next card is from the new set Strixhaven. It's Belgeros Witherbloom. It's legendary Elder Dragon. It has flying. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest token creature. With when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. You can also pay 10 life, untap all your lands you control, but only activate it once each turn. So even on your opponent's turns and on their upkeeps, you're going to create a 1/1 black green, and if your commander's on the battlefield, you're also going to make a 1/1 squirrel. The next card I have is a Blood Artist. It's 1 colorless, 1 black. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So with all the token creatures that we have, if someone decides to board wipe and Blood Artist is on the battlefield, you're going to gain life for all those creatures dying, as well as each opponent's going to lose life. So if you have 10 tokens on the battlefield with 3 creatures, you're going to gain 13 life on a board wipe, and every opponent is going to lose 13 life. To go with our Squirrel synergy, we're going to have the Deep Forest Hermit. It's a 3 colorless, 2 green. It has Vanishing 3, which means this creature enters the battlefield with 3 times counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you are going to remove 1. And when the last is removed, you're going to sacrifice it. So her biggest ability that I put in here is when Deep Forest Hermit enters the battlefield, you're going to create 4 1/1 green squirrel tokens. Again, with your commander on the battlefield, you're going to make a total of 8 1/1 squirrel tokens. And she also gives squirrels you control a +1/+1, so you're just going to boost up your tokens for squirrels. The next one is another card coming in from Modern Horizon 2, which is Draykeeper. It's an elf druid. It's a 3 mana, 1 black and 1 green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you're going to create 1 2 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens. You can also pay 3 colorless and 1 black, and squirrels you control get a +1/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. So the more squirrels you have on the battlefield, you can tap her, pay that 4 mana. Every squirrel you're going to have is going to up and getting menace as well. Now we have Elvis Mystic. It's a green. It taps for a green mana just for a ramp. So trying to get out all these creatures a lot earlier than your opponents can help you win the game. The next creature I have is Grismald the Dread Sower. A legendary creature for 1 colorless, 1 black, and 1 green. Has trample. At the beginning of your end step, each player is going to create a 1/1 green plant creature token. And whenever a creature token dies, put a 1/1 counter on him. So if someone tries to kill all your creatures, or you use your tokens to block, you're just going to keep making him bigger. The next creature is Guardian Augmenter. He's a 2 colorless and a green. He has flash. Commanders you control get a +2/+2 and gain hexproof. So all this is just trying to make sure that Chatterfang stays on the battlefield so you can make the most of making sure that every token is a squirrel. Anawar Elves, it's a green elf druid. Again, just like Elvis Mystic, it's a ramp creature. So you tap it, you gain 1 green mana, trying to get those big creatures like Avenger Zendikar and Beladros Witherbloom out a lot earlier. Your next creature is my favorite, Nantuka Husk. It's a 2 colorless, 1 black. You can sack a creature, and Nantuka Husk gets a +2/+1 until end of turn. So all this is if you have a lot of tokens out and you also have the Blood Artist out, you can start sacking your creatures and making people drain their life, your opponents. And you're also going to make a big Nantuka Husk. You can also do this if you need to block a big creature. Sacrifice some creatures and make him big so that he doesn't die, but your opponent's big creature does. The next one is Pitiless Plunderer. This is 3 colorless and 1 black. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. Now, with Chatterfang, as long as you're making tokens, it makes squirrels. So this is an infinite combo that I threw in this deck. As long as Chatterfang Squirrel General is out and Pitiless Plunderer is out, and one of your sack engines like Nantuka Husk, you could sack your tokens, put a treasure token in, as well as a 1/1 squirrel. So you can make as many squirrels as you want infinitely just with this card. The next one is a Poison Tip Archer. It's a 2 colorless, 1 black, and 1 green. It has reach and death touch. So whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So just with the infinite combo and Pitiless Plunder, if he's on the battlefield, you can drain your opponent's targets as soon as you sack all those creatures to win you the game. The next creature I have is Rampaging Baloths. It's a 4 colorless, 2 green. It has trample and landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you create a 4/4 green beast token. So again with Chatterfang, 4/4 green beast, 1/1 squirrel. Just for throwing a land in. Now back to the squirrel synergy. We're going to have a new card coming from Modern Horizon called Ravenous Squirrel. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, you put a 1/1 counter on him. You can pay 1 colorless, 1 black, and 1 green, sacrifice an artifact or creature, you gain a life, and you actually draw a card. So again, card draw, building up your squirrels to be good, as well as making sure that you're making the most out of every artifact you have and creature. The next creature I have is Reclamation Sage. 2 colorless and a green. The reason I put this in is because when it enters the battlefield, you destroy a target artifact or enchantment. So if an opponent has a Soul Ring on turn 2, you can get the Reclamation Sage out on turn 3, kill his Soul Ring, and have them not ramp as fast as you can. It makes the playing field a lot easier. My next card is Ruxa, Patient Professor from Strixhaven. It's a 2 colorless, 2 green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, return target creature with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand, and creatures with no abilities get a +1/+1. Now those in our deck don't really matter. The one I actually care about is the third one. You may have creatures you control with no abilities assign combat damage as though they weren't blocked. So why I like this is you're going to have a lot of token creatures. Now, token creatures don't have abilities. So if Rux is on the battlefield and you swing with all your squirrels or all your beasts, guess what? You're going to hit them even though they are going to block your creature. You are still going to let your opponents take damage because Ruxa. The next one is the famous Scoot Swarm. It's a 2 colors, 1 green. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green insect token. Now, if you control 6 or more lands, you're going to make an exact copy of Scoot Swarm. So every time a insect comes out, or a token of Scoot Swarm, you're going to make a squirrel. The next one is Squirrel Mob. It's a 1 colors, 2 green. Squirrel Mob gets a +1/+1 for each other squirrel on the battlefield. So if you're pumping up those tokens and Chatterfang's on the battlefield, all those squirrel tokens are just going to buff up your Squirrel Mob to be so high and attack for lethal. The next one, copy out of Modern Horizon 2, Squirrel Sovereign. It's a Squirrel Noble. It's a 1 colors, 1 green. Just gives other squirrels you control a +1/+1. So it's just going to make those squirrels that you have from Chatterfang have a +1/+1. So they're now going to be 2/2 squirrels. The next one I have is Squirrel Wrangler. It's a 2 colors, 2 green. You can actually pay 1 in a green and sacrifice a land. Put 2 1/1 squirrel tokens onto the battlefield. Or you can actually pay 1 colors and 1 green, sacrifice a land, and give all squirrels +1/+1. The next one of my favorite cards in Magic right now, is Toski, Bearer of Secrets. This spell, 1, can't be countered. He's indestructible squirrel. 3 colors and 1 green. He has to attack each combat if able. And whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, you're going to draw a card. So if 2 of your tokens hit for 1 and 1, you're going to draw 2 cards if Toski's on the battlefield. Going into our next creature, it's going to be a costly one, but a good one. It's 5 colorless and 3 green. It's a Verdant Force. At the beginning of each upkeep, put a 1/1 green sapperling creature token onto the battlefield. So again, on each player's and opponent's turn, you're going to make a 1/1 green sapperling and a 1/1 squirrel. Here's just another sack engine if you're trying to do aristocrats and deal damage to your opponents. It's a Viscera Seer. It's a 1 black, sacrifice a creature, and scry 1. That scry 1 could make or break your game, so it is important. The next card I have is a Wolverine Rider. It's a 4 colors, 2 green. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its toughness. So again, every elf token that hits the battlefield, you're going to gain 1 life. But you're also going to get a squirrel for every opponent in your upkeep. So it ends up being well for your commander. And the last creature we have up here is Zulaput Cutthroat. It's a 1 colors, 1 black. Whenever Zulaput Cutthroats or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Again, if you're trying to make this an aristocrats deck, Zulaput Cutthroat and Blood Artist do the same exact thing. Just make sure that you can kill your creatures. So with a Nantuka a Viscera Seer, you're going to make the most out of everything and ping your opponents for 1 life for every creature you die. So now we're going to move on to the sorceries. We got 11 in this deck. The first one is Acorn Harvest. It's a 3 colors, 1 green. We're going to put 2 1/1 green squirrel tokens into play. So it also has Flashback. 1 colors and 1 green, and you have to pay 3 life. You can play this card from your graveyard. And what you're going to do is Chatterfang makes it out there. You're going to make 4 1/1 green squirrels. And if you pay Flashback, you can pay that right away. And you can make a total of 8 1/1 green squirrel tokens as fast as possible. The next one I got is Chatter of the Squirrel. A 1 green. Create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. It also has Flashback for 1 colorless and 1 green. Now, the next card I put in here is a board wipe. It's a culling ritual. It's 2 colors, 1 green and 1 black. We're going to destroy each non-land permanent with mana cost 2 or less. You're going to add a black or a green for each permanent destroyed this way. The next one you have is a staple in Commander. You're going to have Cultivate. It's 2 colors, 3 green, 1 green. And you're going to search your library for 2 basic land cards. Reveal those, put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other in your hand, and then shuffle your library. It's just a staple in for ramp in mostly any green color Commander deck. The next one is just for card draw. It's Harmonize. It's 2 colors, 2 green. You're going to draw 3 cards. Plain and simple. The next one we got is a Sorcery. It's a 6 colors, 1 green. Howl of the Night Pack. You're going to put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield for each forest you control. So again, if you have 7 lands, you're making 7 2/2 green wolf creatures. And if your commander's on the battlefield, you're also going to make 7 1/1 squirrel creatures. How awesome is that? The next card I have is Natural Order. You're going to pay 2 colorless and 2 green. And you're going to sacrifice a green creature. But you get to search your library for a green creature card. Put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle your deck. So all it is if you're not pulling the card you want, it's just a search your library for that green spell. And we're playing a lot of green in this deck. The next one is Overwhelming Stampede. 3 colors and 2 green. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So again, if you have Squirrel Mob on the battlefield and he's a 10/10, all your creatures are going to gain a +10/+10 and trample. So this could be a lethal way of winning. The next sorcery I have is Parallel Evolution. It's a 3 colors, 2 green. For each creature token in play, its controller puts a creature token into play that's a copy of that creature. So again, if you have 20 squirrel tokens, you're going to make another 20 squirrel tokens. And this also has flashback. So the flashback cost is a little more expensive. It's a 4 colors, 3 green, just for flashback. The next one I have is, again, from the new Strixhaven. It's a 1 colorless, 1 green or black, or 1 green or black. You can create 2 1/1 green and black pest tokens, and whenever this creature dies, you gain 1 life. So again, 2 pest tokens, 2 squirrels. And the last one I have is Regrowth. It's a 1 colorless, 1 green. You can return a target card from your graveyard to your hand. So if one of your good creatures left, guess what? Pull it back from the graveyard. Now we're going to move to the instance of this deck. The first one we have is Appetite for the Unnatural. It's a destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you gain 2 life. Plain and simple. Gain 2 life, destroy someone's artifact or enchantment. The next one I have is Baking into a Pie. It's a 2 colors, 2 black, destroy target creature, and you create a food token. So again, you make a token, you make a squirrel. So not only are you going to destroy a target creature that your opponent controls, you're going to create a food token and a 1/1 squirrel. Beast Within. Again, a staple in most green commander decks. It's a 2 colors, 1 green. You're going to destroy a target permanent. Its controller gets a 3/3 green beast creature token. Now, a lot of people see this and they think destroy target permanent as an enchantment, artifact, or creature. But you can also destroy someone's land. So if you see someone that's actually missing land drops, you can destroy their land, give them a creature, but also now they're going to need more lands to cast their bigger creatures. The next creature I have, the instant, is a 2 colors, 1 green. It's Broken Wings. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creatures with flying. Now again, you're playing squirrels, not flying squirrels. So you don't have many flyers. So if your opponent's playing a lot of flyers, this can kind of slow them down so that your squirrels can build up and smack them for lethal. The next card we have is a Fog Patch. It's a 1 colorless, 1 green. You can play Fog Patch only during when you can declare blockers. What it is it makes all attacking creatures automatically become blocked. The next card we got is Heroic Intervention. So 1 colorless, 1 green. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So this is going to save your tokens from board wipes. So if someone plays a board wipe, you instantly put Heroic Intervention. It not only kills everybody's board, but it keeps yours untouched, because now all your squirrels and all your creatures have indestructible. Then we go into Return of the Wild Speaker. 4 colors and a green. You can choose one of the other. You can draw cards equal to the greatest number among non-human creature tokens you control, or non-human creatures you control get a +3/+3 until end of turn. Now you can either use this for card draw, or you can use this as a +3/+3 for all your squirrels. Then we move on to Second Harvest. It's a 2 colors, 2 green. For each token you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that permanent. So just like Parallel Evolution, it's just to build your tokens more and more. The next card we got is a staple in most black. It's a lot of card draw. It's a Village Rites. It's a 1 black. And as an addition to cost this spell, you have to sacrifice a creature. But you're going to draw 2 cards, which is going to help you if you're top decking. The last but not least is Vitalizing Wind. It's 8 colors and 1 green. Creatures you control get a +7/+7 until end of turn. So again, it's like Overwhelming Stampede, but without the trample. So if you know that one of your opponents doesn't have creatures and you have 5 or less squirrel tokens, you can buff those squirrel tokens up and hit them for lethal. Now we move to the artifacts. Now we have mana artifacts and we have regular artifacts. So the first one is Arcane Signet. 2 colorless, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color's identity. Pretty plain and simple. The next you got is a new card from Mono Rising called Chitter Spitter. It's a 2 colorless, 1 green artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a token. If you do, put an acorn counter on Chitter Spitter. Squirrels you control get a +1/+1 for each acorn counter on Chitter Spitter. You can also pay a green, tap it, and create a green squirrel token, 1/1. Again, that will be 2 if your commander's out there. But the main reason I have this in there is you can build your squirrels to infinite toughness and power, which is putting acorns on this artifact. The next one I have is an Eldrazi Monument. It's a 5 colorless. Creatures you control get a +1/+1 and have flying and indestructible. At the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sacrifice a creature, but if you can't, you have to sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. Now again, if you're making a lot of tokens, you will have no problem sacking creatures. And now all those tokens have indestructible and are +1/+1s and have flyings. So I'm going to hit people for flying indestructible squirrels. The next is Mind Stone. 2 colors, tap it for a colorless mana, or you can pay 1 and sack it for a draw a card. The next one is Ring of Brighthearth. It's a 3 colors. Whenever you activate an ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you can pay 2, and if you do, copy that ability. So perfect with our commander, for example. If you go and make a token creature, you pay 2 mana, you can actually make an additional creature token for a squirrel as well. And this will just keep going as long as you have the 2 colorless mana. The next one is just an artifact equipment, just to throw it in there as a win condition. It's a 5 colorless, it's Scythe Claw. It's a living weapon, so when you equip this and it enters the battlefield, you must create a 0/1/1 green germ token and attach it to it. Now the equipped creature gets a +1/+1. Now whenever the equipped creature deals damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. And it only costs 3 mana to equip it afterwards. So as long as you have a flyer or you're hitting everybody, you can equip this to them and a player automatically loses half their life, rounded up. The next one is a Soul Ring. Again, a staple in most commander decks. It's a 1 colorless and it taps for 2 colorless mana. The last artifact we have is a Swiftfoot Boots. It's a 2 colors. Equipped the creature has hexproof and haste. Equipped it for only 1. I put this in the deck just to make sure that Chatterfang is as protected as possible no matter what the cause. This whole deck synergizes around him being on the battlefield. Now we go into the enchantments. The first one we have is Awakening Zone. It's a 2 colors, 1 green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature onto the battlefield. If you sacrifice that creature, you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So all it is I would just say forget the may part of this card, because you're going to want to create a 0/1 color spawn. When you do so, you're going to make a 1/1 Squirrel token because of your commander. Now, who doesn't want 2 creatures from 1 card? The next one is an enchantment. It's a Blantwood Armor. It's a 2 colors, 1 green. Enchanted creature gets a +1/+1 for each forest you control. So I put this on here because, again, your commander has Forest Walk. 9 times out of 10, at least 2 of your opponents are also playing green. So as long as you put this on your commander, buffing your commander up based off the forest that you have on the battlefield, with Forest Walk, your commander actually can hit for commander damage and make sure that 21 commander damage can knock out opponents pretty quickly as long as you keep boosting up your commander. The next one we have is Paradox Zone. It enters the battlefield with a growth counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, you double the number of growth counters. Once you do that, you create a 0/1 green-blue fractal token. You put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of growth counters on it. So again, make tokens, make squirrels. The next one I have is I'm just an Infect Master. I love Infect. Don't ask me why. I had to add it to this deck. This is Prices. It's a 1 colorless, 1 black. Enchanted creature, it gains Infect. So again, if you want to do this, you're going to put it on your commander for the Forest Walk. Smack someone for Infect. After 10 Infect counters are on it, they automatically are out of the game. The next one is a Costly Boy. It's a Sandworm Convention. It's a 6 colorless, 2 green. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. And at the beginning of your M step, you're going to create a 5/5 green worm creature. Again, tokens, squirrels. Can't say any more about that. The next one is Snake Pit. It's a 3 colors, 1 green. Whenever an opponent plays a blue or black spell, you're going to put a 1/1 green creature token into play. Now again, like I said, most of the time you have at least 1 black player, you have at least 1 blue player. So anytime they cast a blue or black spell, 1/1 green snake, 1/1 squirrel. The next one is Squirrel Nest. It's a 1 colorless, 2 green. You're going to enchant one of your lands. You enchant a land, you tap it, you can actually create a 1/1 green squirrel token creature. And then the last enchantment we have is a Squirrel Sanctuary. It's a 1 green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you're going to create a 1/1 green squirrel token. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you can pay 1. If you do, return Squirrel Sanctuary to its owner's hand. Then you can play it again, making sure that you keep making 1/1 green squirrels. Now, last but not least, we have lands. Most of the time, I play a lot of basic lands, trying to keep the cost down. But in this case, you can't go wrong with Command Tower. It's mostly in most commander decks. It adds 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. We're then going to run with 14 forests. And we're going to also go with 13 swamps. The next one we have is Temple of the False God. You can tap it for 2 colorless mana. Activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. So, as long as you have 5 or more lands, you can tap this for 2 colorless mana. The next one I have is Witherbloom Campus. It enters the battlefield tap, but you can add green or black. And you can also pay 4 and tap it to scry 1. Followed by that is Jungle Hollow. Enters the battlefield tap. When it enters, you gain a life, and you can play it for either black or green. Llanowar wastes, you can tap it for a colorless, or you can tap it for a green or a black. But if you do tap it for a green or black, you deal 1 damage to yourself. The next one I have is Mirrored Landscape. Enters battlefield tap. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can pay it for 2 and tap it and search your library for 2 basic land cards that share a land type and put them on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. So again, if you're trying to get as many forests on the battlefield, you can tap this and throw more forests onto the battlefield. The next one is Reliquary Tower. Gives you no max hand size, and you can tap it for a colorless mana. The only reason I added this is because with Beast Whisperer and Toski and all the tokens that you're making, you may draw a lot of cards, and you want to make sure you don't mill yourself. And the last land I have is Skemfar Elderhall. Enters the battlefield tap. You can tap it for green mana. But the most important part is what I wanted, the second part. So 2 colorless, 2 black, and 1 green. You could sacrifice it. You give a target creature a -2/-2 until end of turn. But you also create 2 1/1 green elf warrior token creatures. Now again, 2 elves, 2 squirrels. And that is my deck tech for the commander Chatterfang Squirrel General. Now if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll be having a gameplay shortly soon enough, and you can watch that. So hopefully I'll see you guys next episode. Thank you for listening and watching. Thank you.